Going on, golf addicts? It's the Tour Junkies. It's the US Open. It's Torrey Pines. I am pumped. Your host DB here. I got Pat Perry, my boy, with me. We showed up to this podcast. We jumped on the software here to start recording, and we were wearing the same shirt, the same throwback Tour Junkies relic, fully sublimated Ryder Cup 2016 Golby American flag shirt. This thing turned a lot of heads back in 2016 at Hazeltine, Pat. We both look wonderful in it. It's our country's national open, and we're pumped. We're excited to get down and dirty with you, covering all the DraftKings goodness. As always, we are presented by none other than fantasynational.com. It is the one-stop shop for all your stats. If you're betting on golf, if you're betting outrights, if you're betting top 20s, if you're doing head-to-heads or three balls, if you're playing daily fantasy on DraftKings, on FanDuel, on anywhere, if you're playing in a pool with your buddies, if you're playing one and done, literally every possible format that you could be playing involving the PGA Tour and now also the Korn Ferry Tour, you can get all the data you need, all the tools you need right there on fantasynational.com. If you go to fantasynational.com/TJ, you're going to save 20% off every membership that you sign up for. You can get a weekly membership with our promo. You get $8 a week. You get a monthly for $24 a month, or you can get an annual membership to cover the whole season, 40-something events for $200 a year on fantasynational.com/TJ. We've been using them 3 or 4 or 5 years now. Actually, it's like 4 or 5 years. Trust them. All the data is backed and licensed by the PGA Tour themselves, so you know it's good. Check out fantasynational.com/TJ. Pat, I am really happy about tonight. I'm excited about the show. It's a Saturday night. It's kind of it's weird for us.
It is weird.
I'm going to be drinking a little heavier tonight. So
it's Saturday night. I mean, why wouldn't you? I mean, Monday nights are kind of tough. You know, we got you got real job stuff the next day.
Yeah.
But tonight, you know, we can just kind of let it go and do what we want and have a good time. I am drinking a little Wild Leap brew.
Wild Leap, ooh, nice, like that. I love Wild Leap, but I'm not going Wild Leap tonight. I've got my Tour Junkies glass here that my boy Bill Brower sent, and I am going to finish this bottle of Casamigos tonight, more than likely. But you know, we got the betting show. This is going to be an hour plus long show probably. Then we have the betting show after this. We've got TJ After Dark after that. It's going to be a long evening, so I'm just going to start it with just straight up. It's just some straight up Casa.
Yeah,
straight up Casa with a little
splash of lime in there.
Yeah, and then after I'm probably gonna transition to maybe some put some soda in there, stretch it out a little bit. But I am excited about it, and we've got a special guest joining us here shortly, Mr. Paul Tesori. He is a PGA Tour caddy, caddies for Webb Simpson. Paul been a caddy for 20 plus years on the PGA Tour, also played on the PGA Tour himself. Quite familiar with Torrey Pines. He's going to come on and talk to us a little bit about that in just a little bit. We've got a couple awesome giveaways. I want to go ahead and get that out of the way. So if you skip, don't skip, okay? Because we're going to give away some cool stuff here. And it's basically, part of it's going to revolve around the Nut Hut. But I want to give a quick Nut Hut update because a lot of people are not in the Nut Hut and they don't know about the Listener League and they don't know about the great chance they have to win an all-expense paid trip to Augusta or Savannah and have a couple of rounds of golf, some food, some drinks with me and Pat. If you win the Nut Hut Listener League for the year, that's going to be you, and TJ is going to take care of it. It's a great opportunity. So how do you do that? Well, you got to join the Nut Hut. You can join monthly for $10 a month. You can join annually for $90 a year. And you just go to tourjunkies.com, click on Golby's Nut Hut. You can sign up right there. It's our private Discord server where we talk about all kind of stuff, mainly golf, mainly betting on golf, DFS golf. It's a great community we've built over there. 400 plus members now and growing in the Nut Hut. It's where we share inside info that we get from caddies, from players, from coaches, from on site, like Pat was just this past week at the I'm not even going to say the name of the golf tournament. The golf tournament is dead to me. That was the worst I've done. Don't even want to say it. Pat was on site, beautiful place.
Hey, don't blame any of my info, okay? It was just the way it was. Okay.
Yeah. Anyway, if you join the Nut Hut, you get in there. On the left-hand side of the Discord channel is the Listener League, and you can join the Listener League. It's a free DraftKings contest, okay? and it's invite only to Nut Hut members. If you win a weekly contest, which we run every single week, there's a tournament. If you win a weekly contest, you get one entry into the Nut Hut finals. Okay. We also have this broken down into segments, 4 segments. If you win a segment, even if you don't win a week, you also get an invite into the finals. We have, let me give you some stats so far. So far, there are 32 entries in the Nut Hut finals. So right now, there are only 32 entries that you would be competing against to win an all expenses paid trip to come hang out with us. 6 Nut Hutters have 2 finals entries, and segment 4 starts this week. It's the final segment, and it runs through the Wyndham. 10 events. So this is a great time to jump in because the segment starts over. You're not behind in terms of possibly winning a segment. So you got that. You can win a trip. But here's what we're going to do this week. We're going to give away a couple things. The first giveaway, if you finish second in this week's Nut Hut Listener League contest, not first, because first you get an entry into the finals. So that good on you. But if you're the bubble boy and you finish second, you're like, oh God, we are going to send you a pretty nice TJ merch bundle. Okay. And I'm talking some good stuff, a hat, a towel, a head cover, which those are pretty hot commodities. That thing's like $55 on our website.
Wait, don't go too fast here. I'm writing this down because let me just tell you, the Masters contest, I don't want to say a disaster, but part of it was a disaster. So just like go slow and I'll write this stuff down so I know what I'm getting into.
Hat, towel, head cover.
Okay.
Coasters. One of these awesome coasters. You get me with some acorn tears, Pat. You can get stickers, a ball marker, and I have news. This is also going to be thrown in. Also, I'm going to take over here, producer Sam, a Siwoo Kim t-shirt because we just reordered. We have sold out of the Siwoo Kim t-shirts, and now we've just reordered so they can go back on sale. So you could get one of those fresh Siwoo Kim t-shirts as well. Yeah, thank you to everybody who's already ordered one of those. Pat's got a lot of shipping he's going to be doing in the next
couple. They're going to be going out, by the way. I know everybody's been messaging me, sending carrier pigeons my way, trying to figure out when the Siwoo Kim jersey or shirt is going to go out. It's going to go out this week, meaning starting tomorrow. It's going to flow out throughout the week. Okay,
you got a lot of orders to fill.
Yeah.
That was the fastest selling out item we've ever had. It was amazing. So we reordered them. They're on the way. So if you missed it when we reorder and we post it, you better jump on it because it could sell out again. All right, that's the first contest this week. Okay, get in the Nut Hut, get in the Listener League. If you finish second, you get the bundle. If you finish first, you got an entry into the finals. Second contest that we're running, you could win a chance. You could win Pat's tailor-made driver that he doesn't hit anymore. So it's used. Okay, this is like Play It Again Sports. Sorry about your life, but it is. And some other merch. Okay, not a full-on merch bundle, but we'll throw in some merch as well. It's a nice driver. You know what? Actually, the sweet spot is very clean on it. Really, if a lot of toe marks and maybe maybe just those. So sweet spot's pretty clean. Win Pat's driver. Here's what you got to do to win. Just go leave us an Apple Podcast review. That's all you have to do. Apple Podcasts or iTunes review, if you still say that. And it's got to be a written review. 5-star written review. And in the review, give us your Twitter or your Instagram handle so we can find you, so we can DM you. If you don't do that, we don't know who you are. We'll draw one at random. You can win the driver and the merch. 2 great contests for the US Open. Get involved. Get in the Nut Hut. Have some fun with us. We'll be in the Nut Hut chat room on Wednesday night live. Me and Pat for sure. Hopefully Chalk Bomb Ben has internet by then. Our boy AC. We'll have a great time chatting it up and just final thoughts and questions bouncing off of us while we all sit and have a drink on Wednesday night. Probably around 8:30, 9 p.m. Eastern is when we start, and we usually go to like 11 or midnight. So it's always a good time in the Nut Hut chat. Thanks to everybody who gets in there on the reg and supports the Nut Hut. It's always fun stuff. All right, that's all that, Pat. I'm ready to move on.
Should I add to the second place winner a Masters 2020 shirt? We got a few extra ones of those.
Sure, if you're feeling generous, yeah.
Yeah, I'll add as long as you're a large or an extra large. I'll throw that into the package if you finish second.
That's very nice. Yeah, a Masters 2020 shirt. So just the weird year T-shirt. That's good stuff. Also, Excuse me, if you've not already and you're watching on YouTube, please comment. Okay, comment. We need you. You can make a difference. We need comments. Just comment something. You can comment for the algorithm. You can comment what you think of our stupid shirts. You can comment your pick to win the US Open. You can, I don't know, you can suck up to one of the contests, whatever you want to do. Leave us a comment. All right, Pat, let's talk about Torrey Pines. I want to get into the golf course. I want to talk about some things. Obviously, we're going to have Paul Tesori here join us in just a little bit. But let's get out ahead of that a little bit and talk about Torrey Pines.
Yes. So, everybody knows Torrey Pines. We see it every year in the Farmers Insurance. So it's not a course that is unfamiliar to us. But it is a little bit unfamiliar when you think about it as a U.S. Open course and a U.S. Open setup. As a matter of fact, it's only held one major. And I think that was I know it was the 2008 U.S. Open, which Tiger won on one leg, basically. But anyway, it is the South course this week. It is a par 71. It is playing almost 7,650 yards. You've got 156 players in the field this week. Low 60 and ties will make the cut. So that's something a little different. Low 60 and ties make the cut. You got Bermuda fairways that are overseeded with rye. You have Kikuyu rough this week. Kikuyu rough, which has actually got some overseed in it with rye as well. And it is thick AF. Let me just tell you that. We are already seeing on social media, I think Xander Schauffele posted something earlier this week just showing how thick this rough is, and that is not unexpected. That is what they do for U.S. Opens. They tighten up the fairways and they thicken the rough. Okay, that is just that's a pretty standard protocol for U.S. Opens. You got pretty small greens this week as well, as far as compared to average greens on tour. You got typical West Coast Poana greens, so we might get those bouncy looking Poana greens, but I think they're going to have them in great shape this week. You did have a few renovations by Reese Jones in 2019, kind of preparing this course for the U.S. Open. Nothing really that major as far as the design of the course. They did shift some tees and move some bunkers around and things like that just to give it a little bit more teeth. So it put some bunkers into play when they weren't before. So that's something we're going to look at. You look at the par fours here. I mean, 7 of them play 450 plus yards. So a lot of long irons into these greens if you're not very long off the tee. All the par fives are over 560 yards. I think it's going to be it's going to be imperative you hit the fairways this week. I mean, it always is in U.S. Opens. In order to
Bryson didn't hit a ton of fairways last year.
Well, Bryson didn't. You're right. But I think this rough is going to be a little bit more gnarly than he had last year.
It was pretty gnarly.
But when you're hitting a wedge out of it, it's not quite as gnarly. And that Kikuyu is something they're not as used to either. It's not like Kikuyu's, prevalent on tour. They don't always play in Kikuyu. So I think that could make things interesting. But I do think you're going to have to be very precise with your iron play, especially your longer irons into these longer par fours. For me, the stats that I'm looking at, I'm going to look at course history some, probably lighter than normal, just because you don't always see this course as a U.S. Open setup. I'm going to look at form, strokes gained approach. I am going to look at driving accuracy and ball striking. Long-term stats on Poana greens. U.S. Opens always bring out bogey avoidance to me. Just the guys that aren't, making a lot of bogeys or more on holes in general over the last, 50, 100 rounds, whatever, even shorter, 24 rounds. And certainly going to look at distance. I mean, any course, I do want to see the guys that maybe have some distance and some accuracy in there. You're looking at the past champions here. We had Bryson, as you mentioned, in 2020. Gary Woodland in 2019. Brooks Koepka 2 years in a row in 2017 and 2018. And then DJ in 2016 with Spieth in 2015. So there you go. That is my quick course breakdown before we get Paul Tesori in here. I know, DB, you've got a few thoughts and maybe some trends that you've looked at for the course this week.
Yeah, before we do that, I see our boy Joe Keps in the chat is already asking about the damn hoodie, and I think, Pat, you have the hoodie next to you. It's really just a matter of getting it in the shop. I need to just get it in the shop, but it is a sweet golf hoodie. It is literally, it's made by a golf brand, golf company.
There's a hoodie part.
Yep. So no drawstrings, perfect for playing golf. Nice little Golby patch there. Pat acts like he's never held a shirt before in his life. He's struggling. Okay, it's all black, athletic material, lightweight. It's beautiful. It's beautiful, man. By Levelwear, Canadian brand, Canadian golf brand there. So there you go, Joe. I just got to get in the shot. My bad. Okay, a couple things. I think that, so you mentioned course history. You're talking Farmers Insurance, right?
Yes.
Okay. I think I'm just gonna completely leave that out. And you know, I mean, we're both course history believers, but you're definitely a little more of a diehard course history guy than me. But
well, I made the point that I was going to use it a little bit lighter this week because I just don't think it's necessarily that comparable. But still, the guys that have played good. If I'm like looking at two guys, and one has really good course history, and he checks all the other boxes for me, then I'm probably going to go with that guy. But it's not a major factor.
Yeah. Oh, bless you. I think that would be the last. I mean, I would have a lot of other tiebreakers, but yeah, I just think this thing it's going to play so much different. I mean, Bryson's quoted as saying it. Xander's quoted as saying it. A bunch of guys quoted as saying in the last couple of months when asked about Torrey, how it's going to play, and the overwhelming consensus is it's going to play very different than what we see at the Farmers. Pat already talked about tightening up the fairways, growing up the rough, a lot firmer, a lot faster in June than it is in January, February when they play the Farmers. So I just think it is going to be so completely different. You got to remember the PGA Tour sets it up for the Farmers. The USGA sets it up for the US Open. And the PGA Tour loves birdies. They just do. They love birdies. So they're going to set it up easier. It's just going to be a different course. I mean, you know, maybe you could look at the putting there on those POA surfaces, but I'm sure even those are a little different that time of year. But it's just not something I'm gonna have a lot of. I did find it pretty interesting in the trends that I was looking at. I'm not going to pull that up yet, but a lot of the top 10 here, when you go back and look at 2008, because I was like, let me look at 2008. A lot of the top 10 here had pretty horrible Torrey Pines course history prior to 2008. If you look at the top 10, almost none of them had any decent finishes at Torrey Pines for the Farmers previous to finishing top 10 at the 08 Open. So I just don't think I just don't think it's going to be something worth wasting your time on, honestly. I think let's look at these trends. Let me pull up these trends here, Sam. I want people to see them. Okay, here's the trends. So if you take a look at these bad boys, these are US Open trends of the last 10 US Opens. 9 of them are in the top 25 in the world golf ranking. Find that interesting. 8 have played in at least 3 US Opens prior, and all had at least one top 25 or better in a US Open. So it's not good enough to just play in 3 US Opens prior, but you need to have a decent finish at one. 8 of them had a tie 12th or better in one of their previous 3 starts leading up to the tournament. So a regular start. 8 of them had a T12 or better. So coming in, having flashed some form, having at least one decent finish in their previous 3 events. 7 first-time major winners when you go back to the last 10. Obviously, Brooks kind of buck that trend a little bit. So 7 first-time major winners. Thought that was also interesting because I got some names here that I'm going to give you that would be their first-time major for sure. And 9 had a PGA Tour victory in their career on U.S. soil. So those are some trends coming into it that I think are worth taking note of. Now, obviously, when you get to a week like this too in DFS circles, you've got like the whole game theory thing. Contest selection is crucial. So it's just this is just your 4 times a year reminder that, pick your games wisely, pay attention to the rake, right? There's a couple of different ways you can win $1 million on DraftKings. The rake is garbage on all of them, but you can do it. Get in some listener leagues where they're rake free, they're low rake, like the PME, Pat Mayo's league. That's a great contest to be in. Try the single entries, the 3 max entries. Don't play 150 max lineup contest if you can't max it out. Unless you want to throw a few in the Millie Maker just because you can't help yourself. But just pay attention to that. And Ownership matters, as always. We talk about that, right? Ownership's going to matter. You don't have to fade all the chalk. You can play some chalk. You just got to be aware of what else is going on in your lineup. So you got to pay a lot of attention to ownership projections. We are recording the show on Saturday night, a lot earlier than we normally do. We normally record on Monday nights. I have no idea what ownership is going to look like. I have a guess, but we don't listen to anybody. We don't watch anybody prior to recording the show. So I don't know who's getting talked up already, other than following along on Twitter. But even not a lot of people are talking up guys on Twitter just yet. So, pay attention to ownership, but you got such a strong field. Ownership's going to be pretty spread out, I think, outside of maybe your top 3 or 4 or 5 high-owned guys. And pay attention to weather waves. That's a big deal. Leave money on the table in big tournaments so that you avoid duplicate lineups. You can also, gain an edge by, playing guys that are overpriced. Everybody's yelling at, they're overpriced, they're overvalued. Play those guys if you got a feeling on it. You can overpay. It's okay to sometimes overpay. I might have a few of those in here myself. I don't love doing it. But it's something that I am willing to do in DFS. Player pool is a big thing as well. We talk about that all the time in the Nut Hut. Just having a disciplined player pool, how many guys you choose to play each week and have exposure to. But this is one of those majors where you just saw the trends, right? Like the cream tends to rise to the top. So the US Open tends to be like that. The PGA used to be like that one major a year where you could have some rando win it, Phil Mickelson winning it was pretty crazy.
Yeah.
But Kiowa played tough, right? Like Kiowa played like a US Open. So I think looking back at Kiowa and seeing, who did well there just not even a month ago is interesting. Something I definitely paid attention to. But this is a tough track, and you need those grinders, right? You talked about some of your key stats, Pat. You mentioned bogey avoidance. I definitely pulled in bogey avoidance here. Strokes gained off the tee, strokes gained around the green, strokes gained approach. Those are your big ones. I looked at good drives gained on Fantasy National. I do think that Bryson showed that if you're long enough, you can miss fairways, right? If you're long enough, you can miss them, and if you're long enough, you can wedge out of there and get the club through even these kind of gnarly fairways. So I'm looking at that bogey avoidance for sure. Recent form, obviously. Anything else that you're thinking, or anything that I say that kind of brought anything to your mind?
I think you make a lot of good points. I don't know if I'm just gonna go all in on Bryson's style of playing last year in the US Open and letting that be my my narrative for this year. I think it was a different course at Winged Foot than we're going to see here. I think the rough is going to be a little bit more difficult. I would think that the USGA, and tell me if you think I'm wrong, saw what Bryson did out of the rough last year by bombing and gouging that golf course, and would probably try to protect this course a little more from people being able to do that. We'll see. I could be wrong. Maybe that's a good question for Paul. I don't know. But I just don't know if Bryson's style of winning this winning this tournament is just going to be a trend that we see going forward.
Yeah, I could kind of see that. I don't think though. Growing. I think most players would tell you if they make it thicker than they did last year, that actually continues to play into the hands of Bryson. So, I think cutting it down is what starts to level the playing field again, because even the shorter guys can get through it. And while they don't have wedges, but they may have an 8-iron, they can still get the club.
Well, it levels the playing field, but it also lowers the scores. And I don't think they want scores being lower. If you look at the US Open last year, everybody else was fairly close together other than Bryson. Everybody else was right there, within a few shots of each other. Obviously Matthew Wolff was up there and he did the same thing kind of that Bryson did, just bombed it all over the place. But other than, you take out Bryson and that tournament was more bunched together. So I don't know. We'll see. I think the USGA certainly took note though with what happened on that course.
Well, all the social media videos and all the stuff coming out on all the media outlets is going to start rolling in, and we're going to know what the setup's going to be, right? It's not going to be a secret.
And we tend to overreact to that stuff, don't you think?
Yeah,
we overreact. I mean, you look at Aaron Hills. Aaron Hills played very easy, yet still leading up to that tournament because the rough was so high, even though the fairways were wide as shit. The rough was so high when you missed the fairways. There were people like, doing all these videos and stuff from the rough, and everybody was like, oh my gosh. And then they just like beat the crap out of that golf course. So I don't know. I like to see these videos and these, the social media stuff, but I wouldn't overreact to it.
One of the things I think we do in the Nut Hut that may be undervalued or maybe some don't notice is every week we go into the media center and read through every single transcript of every interview that's done in the media center.
Yeah. More fun when I'm on the grounds.
It is more fun when you're on the grounds. Yes. Come back to that in a second. And we screenshot key things that we feel like guys say, and we put it in the Caddie info channel on the Nut Hut. So that's something we'll definitely be doing this week. All these guys are going to be asked about it. They're all going to have takes on it. By Wednesday, we're going to know kind of how this thing's looking. So, and yes, Pat, if you guys missed it, Pat was incredible in the media center. I don't want to look past that. I mean, it was so good. I challenged you last week to sack up. I told you to sack up, and I told you I wanted you to bring it, and I wanted you to ask some hard-hitting questions, and you did. You delivered. I give you full props, man. It was fantastic. We had a couple viral tweets out of it. You asked Brooks about Dave Portnoy and that match. You asked Kisner about the Bryson Brooks feud. It's been quoted all over the place. It blew up on Twitter. I think the Brooks video with Portnoy has like 700,000 views on Twitter, and shockingly has not been taken down. So, props to you, man. Props to you.
Hey, well, I have to admit there was some great questions that we got from you, and also some Nut Hut listeners that added into some of that. And you know what,
Mike Fusco.
I think that Mike. By the way, great job with the Barstool with the Dave Portnoy question, and maybe you found something, a little something you can do with me. I don't know. You challenged me. You told me to sack up, and I was like, all right, well, I cannot let. I mean, you broadcasted it within the Nut Hut, within all our listeners, and I was like, well, I cannot let these people down. So
yeah, I mean, the peer pressure that tactic for sure worked. I mean, it could have gone another way. You could have just been like, you know what, I'm not gonna succumb to DB's tactics and just not be a real G in there in the media center. But you did your thing. Oh yeah, the other thing was when Kisner was in the media center. And they said, all right, we have a question from Pat Perry with Tour Junkies, and Kiz just lit up. I've never seen a grown man smile and grin with this look on his face like Kisner did. It was, he loves him some P. He loves him some P, Perry, and that was very evident. So I was excited about it. Real quick, I've been trying to eat right, man. I've been trying to eat better, and I have been, and you need to as well. I'm not going to lie. And one of the things that's helping me out, and I know it's starting to help you out, is HelloFresh. They cut out all the stressful meal planning. I don't have to do the meal prep stuff. I did that for a minute, but it's so exhausting, and then you don't end up doing it, and then you just still end up going through the Chick-fil-A drive-thru. But they cut that out, and the grocery trip stuff. Everything you need to make the awesome meal is right there. It's delicious. My favorite is the bulgogi meatballs meal that I had just a couple days ago. And you get better value with HelloFresh. 28% cheaper than shopping at your local grocery store. 72% cheaper than a restaurant meal. 72%. That's bananas.
That's a lot of percentages.
That's many percents. HelloFresh offers the flexibility you need to customize your order on the app as well. So, I love it. It's worked out perfect for me. Big fan of HelloFresh for show. The wife loves it too. You can go to HelloFresh.com/TourJunkies12 and use code TourJunkies12 to get 12 free meals, including free shipping. I mean, that's amazing. We're feeding you. Us and HelloFresh are feeding you 12 times.
Good food too. I mean, we're not just feeding you a bunch of crap. It's good stuff.
It's amazing stuff. HelloFresh is all pre-measured ingredients, mouth-watering recipes, seasonal stuff. It's so good. It's America's #1 meal kit for sure. So go to HelloFresh.com/TourJunkies12 and use code TourJunkies12 for 12 free meals, including free shipping. Get that HelloFresh hitter. All right. One of our guys, one of our buddies, This is not his first time on the Tour Junkies podcast, but it has been a while since we've had him on, and I hate to say that, but I think Paul was he our first caddy?
I think he was.
I think he's been, yeah. Oh, he's celebrating. Let's bring Paul Tesori in, caddy for Webb Simpson, former PGA Tour player, and been on tour now looping for what, 20 years, Paul?
Yeah, that's right. 21st year this year. It goes by fast. I love that introduction. Thanks for that.
Dude, a baby that was born when you started caddying is now sipping alcohol. You know what I mean?
Amazing. Yeah.
That newborn.
Let's move on to a different conversation.
that newborn when you started was on the teat, and now he's
drinking. You guys are just killing me.
Casamigos, man, that's what he's doing. Paul, thank you for joining us, man. We really appreciate it. And yeah, I'm pretty sure you were our very first caddy interview.
That's pretty fun. You guys have definitely stepped up quite a bit since then.
Maybe even our second. I don't know. Maybe our first and our second. All right, Paul. We don't want to keep you too long, man. I know you got some stuff to do. You got to fly out tonight. You flying to Torrey tonight?
I'm flying out early tomorrow morning, actually.
Okay.
I'm supposed to fly out tonight, and I don't want to leave the family, so I changed it to tomorrow morning.
Good stuff, man.
Yeah, I can appreciate that for sure.
Yeah.
I guess let's just start off by talking about the golf course. I mean, obviously we see Torrey Pines at the Farmers, but everybody, all the players, everybody's already said, like, this thing's not going to play the same as it typically does for the Farmers Insurance Open. Do you think the USGA is going to do anything different other than grow up the rough and make it, firmer and faster? Is there anything else you think they're going to do?
I don't think so. I know there's been some rumors, and we won't really know until, I guess there's probably quite a few players already on site, but I won't see it till tomorrow afternoon. But there's been some talk after Winged Foot about, as the rough progresses down the hole, making it a little bit higher. So, if you laid back, let's say with a 3-wood off the tee and hit it in the rough, you'd be able to probably chase it on the green. But if you do hit driver and try to take it on, that rough would be thicker than back. And to be honest with you, I think it's a really good idea. Obviously, a shorter shot into the green probably should have higher rough. And what they've seen is that Winged Foot was so tight, it really only went to one style of golfer, which was, a bomber. Because no one could hit fairways. You could hit a beautiful tight draw down the left side of a dogleg left, and it would still run through. And so what they've seen is, okay, how can we even this out the most and make sure? And so we'll see. Jason Gore, since he's taken over, has done an incredible job. So I can't wait to see what he did, and I know it'll be fair for sure.
So, we were actually just talking about this before you came on. We were talking about Bryson last year, what he did at Winged Foot, and, he was still able, despite the fact that the rough was tall and thick and whatever else, he was still able to just bomb and gouge that course. And I said, I don't know if I would put too much into, this year what he did last year, meaning I think they're going to protect a little more off of what he did last year. And you're kind of, from what you're saying, it sounds like they are by growing up that rough closer.
I agree. And then the golf course too, there's not as many dog legs around Torrey Pines, where if you look at Winged Foot, every hole's working one way or the other. And with the fairways firm, you just can't hold the fairways, even if you're turning them into the dog leg or into the slope of the fairway, where San Diego, she's just a beast. She's long. She's right in front of you. And if you look at past results there, the one thing that seems to really jump off the page, it's not great drivers of the ball. It's great wedge players and chippers and putters. Brant Snedeker has always had a lot of success there. Obviously, Tiger and Phil, great wedge players. But you look at J.V. Holmes, a guy that really doesn't drive it that straight, but again, a really good wedge player, chipper, putter. In the last US Open there, the leaderboard was filled with all kind of a variety of different players. Rocco, who obviously didn't hit it very far, but fantastic wedge player. I know Heath Slocum was in the top 10. I think Sneds was a top 10. I think Troy Merrick might have been even in the top 10. And so as you start walking through that, maybe even Miguel Angel, but as you start walking through that, you see a big variety. And I think that's what we all want. Now, I talk from we because I work for one of the shorter hitters on tour. But like what you want is a tournament that really kind of shares everything. And I think we saw that a little bit in, South Carolina at Kiowa. It's a golf course that's very long, but again, right in front of you, not a whole lot of moving. So you saw a little bit of a difference in the leaderboard as far as guys that are longer, shorter, but the guys with short game, great wedge play really kind of tend to show up to the top.
Were you there in 08 caddying for somebody?
I was with, oh my gosh, I think Vij in 08. Yeah.
Oh yeah. VJ. Nice.
Yeah.
So in terms of you talked about around the green play, in terms of these greens, like, what do you know, or like, what are you going to be on the lookout for once you get there? I mean, because you and Webb don't play the Farmers a lot. You don't play.
No, we don't. Yeah. I have a really nice, like fireproof safe of all my yardage books that I've got all the way back from 2000 when I first started. Wow. And I went through and I found my Torrey Pines book and I just threw it in the trash. I'm like, well, this isn't going to be good anymore. The course is longer. It's been moved and reshaped a little bit. The greens won't be the same. So I'm going to kind of treat it like a rookie this year, to be honest with you. Weber and I had never, well, we played there our first year together, 2011, missed the cut, and we haven't been back in 10 years. So I'm going to treat it like a rookie. I'm going to do a lot more coursework than I normally do. Greens, I won't really spend too much time. For me, it's all going to be the missed spots. You know, if you're playing the par 5, number 9, it's the right rough a little shorter than the left rough. Really pay attention to around the greens if there's a better missed spot here or there. Typically at a place like Torrey, especially like the 9th hole that we just talked about with being such a long par 5, missing it in the left rough there is much more difficult than the right rough typically, just because the fairway slopes a little left or right. So just kind of changing lines, the layup on 13, if they do play 14 drivable the one day like they did in 08. So all those little kind of things I'll be trying to pay a lot of attention to.
So why hasn't Webb played the Farmers? Like, is it one of those things where he just doesn't love the course, or is it just
it's long?
Timing?
It's
long.
really, really long. It's in the end of January.
Yeah.
It's colder. There's no run in the fairways at all, and it's just too much golf course. But we feel like for us, when we're picking our schedule, that is one of the last places we would pick as far as a place to go compete. Now, the US Open's very different. We expect the fairways to be firm running. It's going to be about 8 to 10 degrees warmer, which is a big deal for a guy with slower swing speed to be able to compress the golf ball. So I think it's a really good spot for us in the US Open, but yeah, in late January, early February, it's a little too much for us.
Another thing I was going to ask about Webb is like, he hasn't really played a lot in 2021. Yeah. And like, I guess the question would be like, what's the reason for that? And then how does he prepare for a major? When the last time he played was 3.5 weeks ago. And he played well.
What a great question. There's a lot of levels to that. Let's start with the big one, which is Weber's got 5 kids, 10 and under. So he set out about 2 years ago to start playing one less. I think we're on track for 19 this year, maybe even 18 next year. But this season's gotten disrupted a little bit. Obviously, a lot like last season. This one's different in why the disruption has occurred. But Weber pulled his neck out playing in his home golf tournament on a Wednesday morning. Actually happened late Tuesday afternoon. Withdrew from the Pro-Am Wednesday morning, tried to warm up on Thursday morning, couldn't play. That affected him all the way to the PGA. He almost withdrew on Sunday at the PGA as it was still, really not there yet, still pulling at him. Then he got healthy, and then he got the flu this past week. So that completely floored him for 5 days. So he called, we've done some good video work over, Skype and Zoom and all that other good stuff. And then he flew in Pat Goss, a short game guy, on Friday to really work out of the thick rough. So he feels prepared. So the good news about that is I think he's going to feel a little nervous. I think he's going to feel a little bit anxious. And so there's going to be a lot of good energy, which helps, to be honest with you, on a really hard golf course where you're going to need every bit of kind of, let's say, kid-like mentality, so you don't get too wrapped up in how difficult the place can be. Typically, a week before a major, Webb never plays. It's going to look like a full week of just a lot of short game work. And guys usually don't think about that with majors. You're thinking about, I got to drive it perfect. And I think that's where guys are going to get in trouble at San Diego. The best player in the field will probably miss 4 fairways a day, so 16 fairways missed. You're probably going to have to lay up on up to half of those, so 8. It's going to be a golf tournament that you could have 8 to 9 wedges a day, depending on how your lies are in the rough, where you've driven it, how far you hit it off the tee. So he's doing a lot of wedge work, a lot of chipping work, and we're going to play 9, 9, and 9 Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. We won't play 18 because we want them to kind of be slow 9s. So we're getting a lot of work done around the greens.
How different, Paul, is that Kikuyu rough compared to what you usually see on the course and off the fairways? I mean, is it a lot different hitting out of it, or is it, what's it like?
Yeah, it's different. I think it's the best answer. It's just not like anything that we're used to seeing. man, it's a fantastic grass to hit off of if you're in the fairway with the ball sitting up nice and tight. And even in the first cut, you have to work on hovering the club. You won't see a whole lot of guys grounding the club out of the first cut. Now, the US Open, I have a feeling that they're going to kind of stand that first cut straight up and maybe have it a hair longer so the ball will sit. I don't think they want those balls sitting way up out of the first cut. So typically here, they'll kind of top it off on Wednesday so the ball sinks. But around the greens, it's different for sure. And those greens are firm, they're small, and they break a lot. So you're going to see guys spending a lot of those practice rounds, those 18-hole practice rounds. They're going to be 5.5 hours. So I think that's why we're doing 9, 9, and 9 is to get used to exactly what you said, a type of rough that we're not used to seeing. And we'll hit a bunch of shots out of the rough too, little chasing kind of 5-irons, 6-irons. Our wedge is going to jump. How much are they going to jump? Kind of try to figure all that good stuff out.
With you look at the Poana greens. So you guys play a lot of Poana early on in the season. Yeah, you put your head, down. It's just like, oh gosh, Poana. But you play a lot of those greens, early in the season, West Coast. We see that in California. But now we're getting it here in June. Does Poana change a decent amount between, early in the year when it's cooler versus now? Is it more bumpy? I mean, like, what's the difference there?
So, golly, I get like the heebies as soon as you say Poana. I'm a Florida boy. I like my Bermuda.
Yeah.
I've gotten a little bit used to it, but Poana. I told somebody the other day, I don't think any of my guys have ever had any success on Poana. And they said, Paulie, you guys won the 2012 US Open, and that was Poe. And I'm like, oh, yeah. Oh, there you go. Webb probably didn't use me that week, so we did all right. But my guys have not had a ton of success on Poana. I'm not very confident typically on them with green reading. I'm going to be using the green book pretty much the whole time while we're there. The hardest thing about Poana is the change throughout the day. Won't be that different as far as from February to now. If anything, the greens will be a little faster and a little firmer, which typically the Poe will start popping as the afternoon comes, and they'll be a little bumpier than they would have been maybe earlier. Now, on the flip side, the greens are going to be firmer, so less footprints, heel prints, spike marks, that other kind of stuff. So while you can tap down some of them, you can't tap down the whole thing. So Poana greens, it takes a different type of mentality. I think it's going to take a lot of kind of that patience, knowing I hit a good putt, it didn't go in, we'll tap it in, I'm going to go. And then speed becomes even more important to really hit fully committed putts, because you're going to have some downhill 7-footers that typically would be a ball out that you might go a cut because you don't want to have 3.5 feet coming back. So there's a little bit of that kind of mental game that you'll play with it. In morning tee times, you need to be ready to go and ready to rock, especially if you're one of the first guys out, and play some nice smooth greens. That'll be the best opportunity you'll have. And then if we do have a problem with darkness, you'll see guys marketing coming back the next morning for sure.
Sounds like if Webb gets a bad break on the greens, he's just going to let it roll off his back, and Paul's going to be over there kicking his.
Yes, that's there's a lot of reasons why I'm a caddy and not a player, but there is definitely one of them. I don't do well with bad breaks. I never have. I'm still 49 now, and I still don't do well in my own game. When I can handle bad shots, just I've never liked bad breaks.
All right. Well, I got one more question for you, man. If people don't know, Paul and his wife, Michelle, run the Tesori Family Foundation. It's a nonprofit that does some great stuff for kids with Down syndrome. Talk to us about what's going on with the Tesori Family Foundation, and tell people what they need to do and where they can go.
Man, thank you so much for bringing that up. First of all, check us out, tesorifamilyfoundation.org. We have 5 different programs that we're running full-time right now, and my favorite one's the All-Star Kids Clinic. We do a clinic for 25 kids with special needs. We have one-on-one instruction with PGA Tour players, caddies, and coaches, and the local first tee. We were supposed to have 22 throughout the country last year. Obviously, COVID hit. This year, we're starting to get ramping back up again. We'll probably do a dozen throughout the country this year, and hopefully get back into the mid-20s next year. And it's been really, really good. We've just been so fortunate with the support that we have. We're coming up on $2 million given back. We'll probably reach that later this year, maybe early next year, since we started it in 2009. And just so fortunate to be able to give back. A game that's been so incredibly good to me. And obviously the special needs community with my son Isaiah having Down syndrome is always going to be near and dear to my heart.
Man, we love it. It's a great organization. I've seen it firsthand, and it does a lot of good work, and it's run by great people. Paul, you're getting rave reviews in our live chat. We've got a YouTube live chat, and everybody's saying that you're killing it. You got Spaz Bite says get this guy on a TV broadcast. So it sounds like you've got a couple of things.
Spaz, you can be my agent.
Hey, thanks, Paul. We appreciate the time, and listen, you and Webb have a great week. Get some, get them rested up, and say your prayers before you hit the POA, buddy.
I love that. I definitely will, and you got to have me on when we get our next W.
All right, we'll do
for sure.
All right, boys, have a good one. Thank you.
That's a promise. See you, bud.
Thank you, Paul.
All right, Paul Tesori, absolutely gem of a human being and gem of an interview. Every single time he's on, he's fantastic. He's so good. All right, Pat, I think that's a fantastic breakdown on this golf course. We've been pretty detailed on that. I love it. Let's get into the picks, man. Let's talk about the DraftKings picks for the 2021 US Open. Let's start at the top. The 10K guys and 9K guys, a lot of decisions to be made. You got Jon Rahm, who, by the way, just a couple of hours ago before recording this show, apparently got 2 negative COVID tests in 24 hours and has been cleared. Two has been cleared to go ahead and practice and play and show up on site at Torrey. He's raring to go. I don't know, man. I got to feel like John's probably going to come in there pretty ready to kick some ass.
Yeah, he's got a little chip on his shoulder for sure. I don't think there's any question about that. He wants to come in here and obviously you talk about a history. He's got a good history here, but
yeah.
But so yeah, I think you're right. I think he's ready to go, and we're getting him a little earlier than we thought. I mean, a lot of people thought that it was going to be Wednesday or something. We were going to get to see him for the first time on this course.
Yeah.
So for the US Open. So yeah, I think it's good. It's a good thing for him.
Yeah, I'm excited to see him. I think he's going to have an attitude about him. It's going to be extra special. But you got Jon Rahm, Jordan Spieth, Dustin Johnson, Bryson Brooks, Rory, JT, Morikawa, Xander, Hovland, Cantlay, Patrick Reed. Now, listen, here's what you got to remember every single major championship when you have such a deep field, such a strong field. You can't play them all. You can't play them all. You shouldn't play them all. Don't play them all, okay? You got to plant your flags. You got to plant your flags. If you're going to eat some chalk up here in this range, that's fine. Eat it. Don't eat it in another range. If you're not going to eat some chalk up here in this range, and maybe you can have some down, you can get some chalk later down in the 7K range, 8K range. You can't play them all, though. Plant your flags here, hold your breath, and just pray the guys you faded don't win the golf tournament, okay? But, if you're going to take down a big tournament, if you're going to finish in the top 1%, more than likely you're going to have the winner, unless what happened at the PGA happens and a guy like Phil Mickelson, who literally nobody was on, wins the thing. But there's a great chance that the winner is going to come out of this 9K and above range. So plant the flag and let's roll. Okay, you can't play them all. Now, Pat, it's Saturday night, man. Saturday night, it's tough for me to commit here. Okay, I'm going to give my 3 favorite plays in this range as of now, but a lot's going to change. That's why the Nut Hut is important. That's why going to tourjunkies.com and reading our articles, our content every week is important. The Fantasy Golf Sommelier video that drops on Tuesday night, Wednesday morning is important. But we're early here, so let's get to it. I think I'll tell you one play that I'm for sure on, and I don't know that much is going to change it, even if he's the most popular play in the entire field, and that is Patrick Cantlay. I can't stop Patrick Cantlay train for me.
Cantlay's like a new love for you.
He kind of is.
Yeah.
I love the value. I love the price. I feel like Cantlay's odds of winning this golf tournament, like truly winning it. I'm not talking about what he is on the sports book, but like in my mind, the odds of him winning this golf tournament are just as good as like 4 or 5 names above him. He comes in good form. Had a good run at the PGA. Could have been top 5 easily. Had one, I think, kind of stumbled on Sunday. Played well in US Opens. Ball striking. One of the things I looked at was strokes gained ball striking over the last 2 months. If you don't know, strokes gained ball striking is a combination of off the tee and approach play. Patrick Cantlay in this 9K and above range is like 4th in this field in strokes gained ball striking at 23.7 strokes gained in the last 2 months. He checks the box putting on POA. He can scramble like Paul just talked about. The irons are there. I love me some Patrick Cantlay. I'm excited to play him. The next place that I'm going to go is going, and by the way, California kid. I'm about to rattle off some California kids here. I'm going Xander. I'm going Xander. Now, I do think Xander could be popular. I like the Torrey connection, although I will say I read a quote from Xander that he hasn't visited Torrey lately because he doesn't want to see it not in US Open conditions. He is there now, and he's been there for the last couple of days. But prior to, he's not visited Torrey because he knew it would be in different conditions, different setup. But another Cali kid, in his US Open starts, he has gained 50 strokes in 4 US Open starts. 50 strokes. There is 2. That is good for 5th in this entire field in strokes gained total. But I mean, when you break it down into just 4 starts, that's good for 3rd in this field in strokes gained total at US Opens. Plays US Opens fantastically. And checks the box putting on POA. It's a good surface for him. Checks the box in approach. So I love Xander here. And then I'm going to go with Patrick Reed. I can't quit Patrick Reed. Now, I talked about I wasn't really weighing Farmers Insurance form, but P. Reed is one of my guys anyway. But he's a Farmers winner. He loves Torrey Pines. Going back to what Paul just said, a grinder can win in a low-scoring event. In 2008, the Rocco and Tiger went into the playoff at 1 under. Give me a 1 under to 5 under tournament, and I love Patrick Reed's odds there. Bogey avoidance, around the green putting. The irons and off the tee play have been a little sus at times, as the kids say, but I believe in the Reed major magic. It's a little bit like Brooks to me. I mean, obviously Brooks closes the door more often, but it's a little bit like that for me with Patrick Reed. I just feel like he shows up at these majors ready to roll, always overlooked a little bit, and I save a lot of money with him. I save a lot of money with Cantlay, Xander, and Patrick Reed. So those are my 3 favorites as of now. Who are your 3 favorites?
Okay, well, 2 of those were mine actually. So I am going to have to pivot a little bit because I don't want to just go. But I am because my 2 of my GPP plays were Xander and Patrick Reed. Yeah, I like Patrick Reed a lot, and I like Xander. I think he is going to be a little bit chalky. As a matter of fact, I think if I'm going to kind of audible here and take a play off of him and maybe a pivot, it's going to be Morikawa right there at 9,500, just above him. I like Morikawa this week. I mean, you just look at his recent form, 2nd at the Memorial, really could have won that tournament, lost in the playoff to Cantlay, T14 at the Schwab, and then the top 10 at the PGA. The guy's just been fantastic. He's a great ball striker. Yes, the putting is always suspect for him, or sus, as you said. That's a new word for me, sus.
That's what the kids have been saying for a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, putting is certainly a key, is a deal for Morikawa, but whatever. I mean, we know anybody can get hot anytime. So if you want maybe a pivot off of a chalky Xander, which I do think he's going to be chalky this week, Morikawa might be the play there. And then over 10K, I love Brooks Koepka this week at 10-1. Okay, now we saw Brooks just this past week at the tournament that shall not be named, Palmetto.
Oh,
sorry,
stop.
I shouldn't have said it. But look,
I don't want to hear it.
I watched Brooks personally on that. Yeah, that's like a cuss word now. I watched Brooks personally, not only in the practice rounds, but in the tournament. I swear, I think he was missing putts on purpose. I really do. I think it was very obvious that he did not want to make that cut. I almost thought it would be funny if everybody backed up on Friday and somehow he made the cut. Like then he would have had to scramble around and figure out what he was going to do. He probably would have just withdrew.
If Roger Sloan was the one that did it to like move the cut line back, Roger goes into the locker room when it's all over. He's like the last off the golf course. He thinks he's by himself. He's taking a shower, right? He gets out. He thinks he's doing his thing all by his lonesome, and all of a sudden, out from the corner steps Brooks, and he's like, "Roger, how's it going?" He's like, "Hey, Brooksy, how's it going?" He's like, "What the were you just doing right there when you moved the cut line back, and now I'm stuck for the weekend? What do you mean, man?" And he just shoves him up against the locker and like pummels him to death, and then he withdraws. Yeah, Brooks. I agree. Brooks did not want to play. We talked about it last week. I said it last week. I said Brooks does not care about the tournament that shall not be named. He said it at the PGA that looking at the Byron Nelson before, that he was just going to feel things out, see where he was. That's exactly what he did. I think Brooks is just fine. And in fact, a lot of agreement here so far. If I had to pick one name up there at the 10K, it's Brooks Koepka.
Yeah, I love Koepka this week. I think he's a great play. I don't know how much the tournament that shall not be named will change his ownership. I don't think it probably will a ton, but maybe even if we get a little less ownership for Brooks. I mean, you said it's going to early on in the show, it's going to be spread out anyway up here because of just all the names that we have. But
I don't think we are. Actually, time out real quick. I got 2 opportunities for people to make comments on YouTube. We need the comments. The comments help the show get pumped up in YouTube. So help us out. It's a freak show. You're watching it for free. If you like the show, then help us out. One of 2 comments. Comment what you think Brooks did or would have done had the cut line just moved back to get him in to play the weekend. How pissed would he have been and how would he have acted out? Put that in YouTube. I'm sure you guys have got a lot more creative ideas than I did. Number 2, tell us your favorite thing that Paul Tesori said. Of all the things Paul Tesori just gave us in the comments, help summarize for the people. What was your favorite thing Paul Tesori said? And remember, if you're watching live, wait till after the show's over. I don't think Brooks is going to be overlooked. I actually think he's going to be the most popular play in the 10K range. I really do. I think it's going to be him. I think it's going to be him and Rahm, honestly. I think it is. I think everybody saw the PGA, Brooks coming down. Here he is again. Nobody thought he was going to be any good. He finishes runner-up. Could have won the thing. Phil takes it. Just misses the cut here. I think people are going to be on him. They save the money at 10-1 instead of paying up like a Jordan Spieth or a DJ at 10-7, 10-9. I think Brooks is going to be popular. I think one of the more intriguing names here is Justin Thomas at 9,700. It's an incredible price for JT. And really outside of just bad putting, like really bad putting, JT's checking boxes outside of that. He's an interesting play for me. He's gained a lot of strokes in his 6 US Open tries, 31 total. The ball striking over the last 2 months, he's in the top 5 in this entire field. In ball striking over the last 2 months with 24.8 strokes gained ball striking. Checks a box around the green, checks a box on approach. Driver's been a little iffy as well, but like Paul said, like you're going to miss a few out here, right? JT is interesting to me, and I think he's going to be overlooked. I think he's going to be the overlooked name up here that come Wednesday night, people may be looking at going, man, I can get a low on JT. That's very interesting to me.
I actually have JT as my fade this week.
Oh, no.
Yeah. I don't like his attitude right now.
I smell a wager.
I think his attitude is terrible right now about his game and whatever else.
He said nothing about what has he done? He's done nothing about his. What have you seen that indicates he's got a bad attitude?
Just like watching him on the golf course, he just doesn't seem to have a good attitude. He missed the cut at the PGA Championship. I don't know. I mean, he won the Players, obviously, and a lot of people, went all nuts about that. But outside of that, he really hadn't done all that much this year. I mean, he didn't follow up the win at the Players with a lot of great play. Missed the cut at the PGA, T40 at his last 2 events, or T42 at the Memorial. I just think now a low-owned JT is enticing to me. It is enticing. But I still, right now, as we look at it on a Saturday evening, I don't want any part of JT. I don't. None.
Yeah, you're right. In terms of finish, it's not been great. Finish position since he won the Players. He did pretty good at the Valspar. I think he finished 13th at the Valspar. But I mean, the putter has been god awful, like abnormally bad. He lost
awful, missing short putts left and right. I mean, it's just been terrible. He did it actually at the Players. He actually missed some short putts at the Players. People missed; they didn't even think about him.
Well,
but he missed.
His irons were so good. I mean, at the Valspar, he finished 13th and lost 6.5 strokes putting. Memorial, 42nd, but he lost 8.5 strokes putting. I mean, that's terrible. Now, historically in his PGA Tour career, he's not that bad of a putter. It does seem to have fallen off here lately. He gained strokes putting on POA. Bent grass is his best surface. POA is his next best surface, according to Fantasy National, in terms of putting splits. But I don't know, man. I feel like the miscut at the PGA, and then nothing but a couple top 40s after that. I feel like JT is going to come in here pretty motivated. The iron play is so strong. The US Open record is fantastic. JT loves playing on tough. His record on tough golf courses is incredible. 8th place last year at the US Open. I just think this is an interesting spot for him to bounce back. I think it's got a little bit of that Brooks at the PGA smell to it, right? Where everybody's kind of like, he's out. He's count him out. But don't forget, the dude's a killer. He's a freaking killer. And he will figure it out come major championship time. It's the same thing I thought about Patrick Cantlay at the PGA. I knew that he would figure it out at the PGA. I knew that he'd get it together. He'd miss 4 straight cuts. I like JT here, Pat, and I think we do a wager here. I think you give me an over-under finish position on JT.
An over-under. Why do you always do the over-under stuff? Because that's usually the one you win. I thought we were going to go like player versus player or something.
Let's do that. Let's do player versus player.
Well, who is your fade going to be?
All right, I'll tell you my fade. My fade is a shorter hitter up here in this range. And POA is his worst surface. His name is Jordan Spieth. He's my fade. He's on a down the approach play too. If you look at the rolling report on Fantasy National, he has got a downward trend since the Masters in strokes gained with his irons on approach play. Fairways gained and good drives gained are outside the top 50 in this field in the last 24 rounds. And his US Open record is not bueno since he won in 2015, 6 years ago. Not good for Jordan Spieth at the US Open. I think at 10-9, the second highest price guy here, I would, if you're going to pay 10-9, pay up for a pissed off COVID mother effing John Rahm. Pay up for him. No reason to play Jordan Spieth here. Things are starting to trend a little squirrely-ish. I'm not saying he's going to miss the cut or trunk slam on a Friday, but I don't like the 10-9 value for Spieth. He is my fade. I would love to give you a best friends bet, Jordan versus JT.
Why don't we just go? Yeah, let's just go straight up, Jordan versus JT. I get Jordan, you get JT.
Love that bet. I'm so happy that bet worked out. I can't even tell you.
Now I will take Jordan. Yes, I will take him over JT this week.
All right. Let's do this. Let's do finish position as number 1, right? But if they both finish the same, okay. If they both miss the cut, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if one finishes +5 and one finishes +6. If they both miss the cut or they make the cut, but they both finish like T20, right? Then we go on DraftKings points. That's the tiebreaker. Got it?
Okay.
All right.
Fine. Wait. Let me think about that. Okay. I'll go. Whatever. I'll go with that.
Loser on the Open Championship show in a couple of weeks has to get some part of their body waxed live on air by their spouse, like a hot wax, couple strips, something on your body. Could be, now we can't get kicked off of YouTube. Could be your back, your shoulders, your chest, your nips. Could be any of that. I wouldn't recommend the nips, but let's just say you pick a spot.
Does the loser get to choose? So the loser gets to pick the spot, or does?
Yeah, the loser gets to pick the spot. Yeah, I don't want. I'm not gonna let you dictate where I get waxed. Okay, I'll pay the price getting waxed. Maybe that's a bet later down the road if we want to take it up a notch. There you go. The best friends bet: JT versus Jordan. Loser gets waxed live on the Open Championship podcast. Can't wait. Apparently, though, people in the Nut Hut chat seem to think that I've already lost this bet. And Wes Bearden, you would be wrong. And by the way, Wes, Pat was a butthole to you a couple weeks ago, and you're in here picking Pat. All right.
Hey, it changes week to week. It's just like golf, man. You know, everything. I love Wes. Wes is such a great dude.
Listen, so many names in this 9K and 10K range. Tough to talk about all of them. That's why you need the Nut Hut. So hop in there, and we'll get to them all. Let's get to the 8K range. Let's talk about the 8K range. You got a stacked 8K range as always. Let's see here. Starting with Tony Finau at 8,900, Hideki, Simpson, Willie Z, Scotty Scheffler, Berger, Hatton, Connors, Usti, Rose, and Cam Smith make up the 8K range. I like a few guys in here. My favorites right now. I have a clear favorite, a lot like the 9K and above range. I had Patrick Cantlay. My clear favorite here is going to be at 8,900, Tony Finau. incredible US Open record. He's gained almost 32 strokes in 5 attempts at US Opens over his career. Finished T8 at the PGA. I really like that. Checks the box in all the main categories. Putts well on POA. One of the best around the green players in this field. People don't realize how damn good Tony Finau is around the greens. He is top level around the greens. Very important this week, and I love it. Checking the box in approach play. Obviously hits it a long way. One of the trends I said was that 7 of the 10 last U.S. Open winners it's been their first major. I think Tony Finau could win this golf tournament. I think he's got plenty of room and plenty of equity to win this golf tournament, and I love him at 8,900. And like Cantlay, may be a player that regardless of chalk, I'm going to play. That's the thing about a week like this when you have such a stacked field in a major. Nobody gets like super ridiculous. Nobody's going to be 30% owned in DFS, right? Like they may hit 25, maybe. You know, maybe in cash contest, Finau, I could see getting a 30 maybe because you're getting a lot of savings. But in a tournament, nobody's going to creep over 25 for the most part. I don't think that's going to happen. My next play is going to be Willie Z. I feel like Willie Z, you know, I mean, we haven't seen him. We saw him once after the PGA, where, by the way, he finished 8th at the PGA. Then he came to Charles Schwab. Irons were god-awful. I mean, they were really bad. I think it was a fluke kind of a week for him. But Willie Z, 6th place last year in the U.S. Open. And, you know, gaining strokes, a ton of strokes ball striking over the last couple months. Checks a box putting on POA. Checks a box around the green. Checks a box in approach play. Cali kid. I think this could be an interesting spot for Willie Z at 8,600. I like the value there. So I'm going to go with Willie Z. But like I said, there's a couple other names in here that I do like. Maybe you'll mention them, and I'll double down. I'll tell you my fade. I'm going to jump on Pat's Aussie hate train and fade my beloved Cam Smith. And I like him. I like him. I like him as a man. I like him as a human. But he's 60th in approach play and 85th in good drives gained over the last 24 rounds, according to Fantasy National. Negative 0.7 in strokes gained ball striking over the last 2 months. Let me just tell you, I looked at strokes gained ball striking over the last 2 months for every player from John Rahm down to Joaquin Niemann at 7,500. And there are 2 players in that entire range that are negative in strokes gained ball striking over the last 2 months. Cam Smith is one of them. Horrible U.S. Open record other than 2015. And he's basically average. If you average him out in his 5 U.S. Opens, he's gained 2 strokes total in each of them, which is not a lot when you think about some of the names around him. And if you throw out 2015, he's in the negative there too. So I'm out on Cam Smith, not buying it, don't want it. Ball striking is too not good. That's the AK range for me.
Wow. Okay. Well, you mentioned nobody in that range that I had. So this is actually, you did mention somebody that I have.
Cam Smith.
My fade is Tony Finau. I'm done.
Come on.
I'm done. I am done. Done. I'm not taking him to win this tournament to do anything. I don't like it. I'm not taking Finau. I think he's going to be one of the highest owned players this week. You look at his driving accuracy, he's almost 130th in the field here. I don't like that. The putting, I mean, you talk about putting, yeah, maybe POA is his best surface, but in general, he's just not a great putter. I just don't like anything about Finau this week. I'm not going to play him. I'm done until he just shows me something. I feel like he's a trap. Not going to do it.
Man, dude. Oh, God, I love Finau. I can't wait for you to be so pissed off you don't have any Finau.
Okay, well, that's fine.
But I have a feeling I'm going to like your next couple players because I do like some other names here in the 8K range. But
okay, well, I'll start at the bottom. I like Louis Oosthuizen at 8,100. I mean, this is a guy that always just shows up in majors. We talk about that every time, but he's playing well. You know, he's top 25 in the field in strokes gained approach, top 40 in ball striking, always has been accurate off the tee. You look at bogey avoidance, he's 11th in the field there. You know, scrambling 11th in the field, putts well on Poana. He's 10th in the field as far as putting on Poana his last 100 rounds. I mean, pretty much everything about Louis points to another good week here. And you know what? I like that, Paul talked about these fairways running out a little bit more, giving guys that aren't as necessarily as long off the tee as some of the other ones. If you just watch him drive the ball, it is beautiful. It doesn't have to be that long. It's just a beautiful, just flight path of the ball. Everything is just, great for him. I think it sets up well for him to have a good week. So I like Louis. I wonder if he's going to be a little bit higher owned in this range. We'll see, but still, I will eat it if he is chalky. I don't think he will be. At the top end, actually, before having Tesori on, I like Webb. I like Webb at 8,700. I know he hasn't.
You like him because Paul came on. And
no, I had him. I had him anyway. I knew he was going to come on the show. Obviously, I knew he was going to come. Can I talk? Can I talk about Webb before you just chime in?
You love Paul.
Look. If anything that Paul just said, nothing puts you on Webb, actually. I didn't hear anything that made me think I had to have a whole lot of confidence. I almost took him off of my list here.
Yeah, some of that stuff. But in terms of,
I think he kind of overplayed that a little bit. We'll see. But
in terms of what it takes to play well here, it fits Webb. What he was talking about. Yes, between the neck and the flu and all, the damn, ingrown toenail and all that stuff. Yeah, it's a little scary. But
yeah, it's a little scary. But I still like Webb. I'll play him all day. Just solid across the board. He called him. He's not that short. He's short, but he's not that short. But he's just you look at any course where it requires a lot of accuracy off the tee, great ball striking, putting well, whatever else. he's going to check all of those boxes. And look, it's not like, after he withdrew from the Wells Fargo, he played all that bad in the, in this first tournament back at the PGA, made the cut and finished top 30. Okay. So I like Webb at 8,700. He will be a GPP play. So there you go. Webb, Usti, Finau is my fade.
God, that Finau fade is so wretched. I just can't even tell you how bad that is. Finau is going to piss you off this week. I can't wait.
That's fine. We'll see what happens.
You know what? One thing your boy Webb does a lot is he puts sunscreen on his face a lot, and you always see the white, the residue, because he doesn't rub it in all the way. But he's just trying to look after his skin, which if you play golf in the sun, you got to do. So if you're trying to tackle that, some dry skin, maybe you got some acne scars, you got some wrinkles you want to get rid of, there is a product, right, that we recommend, and it's from our friends at Caldera Lab, and it's called The Good. It's a multifunctional face serum, and it can make your face awesome. If you just want an awesome face, free of wrinkles and dryness and all that stuff, Caldera Lab with The Good, which is an amazing name. We talked about that, I think, last time. Just a great name, okay? They have it down. They did an 8-week clinical trial proving that The Good works on all skin types. Works if you got a beard, good for you. If you got a bald head or a dry scalp, it keeps everything nice and shiny and moisturized. Ladies like that stuff. They want to know their man takes care of their skin, because that way, when you're 60, you don't look like you're 89. They want you to take care of your stuff, okay? Best of all, you can try it risk-free, 100% risk-free, and if you don't love it, they will refund it. Caldera Lab will. Great stuff. And for the podcast listeners, you can receive 20% off your first Caldera Lab purchase. So whether you get The Good or you don't, which you should get The Good, whether you do or you don't, go to Caldera Lab and use discount code Tour Junkies, all one word, Tour Junkies at checkout. That's calderalab.com, CALDERALAB lab, calderalab.com, and use discount code Tour Junkies at checkout. Yeah, I think Marcus is right. Marcus in the chat says, I'm pretty sure Pat used The Good to displace DirecTV Perry as the Alpha Perry. And I do believe that. Yep. I just heard, I just confirmed that is what happened, because I did talk about that a couple weeks ago, that I think there may be a new DirecTV pair. It may have changed hands, and it may be thanks to Caldera Labs. So thank you for that. All right, let's get to the 7K range, Pat. Chocked full of goodness here at the 7K.
Yes, a lot of goodness here.
Just a few highlights here. Paul Casey, Abe Answer, who everybody's all hot and bothered for, right? Sam Burns, Phil Mickelson, my God, at 7,700. Shane Lowry, been playing great. Jason Kokrak, who just won. Woodland, Neiman, Sergio, Brian Harmon, Lil Cockbite, Adam Scott, Mark Leishman, Bubba Watson, West Hood, who just got married, apparently. I guess he just got married today or yesterday. Max Homa, our sweet South Korean prince, Siwoo Kim. Garrick Higo, everybody's new favorite, long-hitting, barely of legal U.S. drinking age South African Garrick Higo. Matt Wolff is not here anymore. He's not here. I don't know what's happened to Matt Wolff. Can somebody check on Matt Wolff?
Can we get a like a buddy check?
We need a buddy check.
Yeah,
we need to know if you live near Matt Wolff. Maybe you need to look out for him. Matt Wallace, Streelman, Ortiz, all these guys down here. Ryan Palmer, Robbie Mack, Matt Jones, Russell Henley. It's a big range, 7K range. A lot of decisions to be made here, buddy. I'm going to let you. I started the first couple of ranges. I forgot I did that. So I'm going to let you start this big range and tell me what you want to do here. Three of your favorites so far and a fade so far.
All right. Well, I'll start with I know what's going to be chalk, but I do not care because I love some Paul Casey this week at 7,900.
Oh, yes.
I mean, the price is just so good. It's too good to pass up.
Playing Paul Casey ever.
I am not either.
I don't know when I'll stop playing Paul Casey.
It's not going to be this week for me.
It may not be.
Yeah. I mean, you look at it. I mean, look, he's second in the field in strokes gained approach, fourth in ball striking. I mean, top 20 in scrambling. Paul Tesori mentioned scrambling being something you're going to look at this week. Off the tee, just fine. Top 50 in the field, strokes gained off the tee. Form is great with a top 5 finish in his most recent tournament, which was the PGA Championship. T4 there is having a very solid season. Almost won the PGA Championship last year out on the West Coast, by the way. So I think Paul Casey is a great play. If he's chalky, so what? You still play him. He's going to offer you a ton of value here at 7,900. So I like him. And then Jason Kokrak at 7,600. I just can't, if I don't play Jason Kokrak, like I didn't play him, and I think I faded him the week he freaking won, back at Charles Schwab, I faded him, and I'm like a dumbass, and he wins. And look, the guy's just playing fantastic this year. He's got 2 wins when you count the full season. He's the only one outside of Bryson DeChambeau, by the way, that has 2 wins. He goes all this time on tour without winning, and then he wins 2 times in the same season. Always tends to play pretty well on the West Coast. Look at all the stats for him. Top 20 in approach play, top 10 in ball striking. Obviously, we know he's got plenty of distance off the tee. Top 10 in bogey avoidance, by the way. Top 10 in strokes gained off the tee. Putting on Poana is suspect for him, but it is for everybody. I feel like. I don't know. But Jason Kokrak, 7,600. I like him a lot this week. And then I'm going to drop down, and I've got a few names that I could give you. And I'm sure I'll leave a few for you. But I'm going to go with Charlie Hoffman at 7,200. Our boy, Charlie Hoffman. Where the hell is Charlie Hoffman? He's at the US Open, where he wanted to be, which is why he didn't finish so great at the Memorial, because he just wanted to make the cut, make sure he finished in the top 60. He's on record as talking about how much he loves Torrey Pines. He really wanted to get in this US Open. He's played this course a ton growing up. So this is a great spot for him. And, we know he's been playing fantastic. You look at the stats, 4th in approach, 2nd in ball striking, top 20 off the tee, top 20 in bogey avoidance. Hoffman checks a ton of boxes. He'll certainly be high owned, but, it's spread out. Like you said, I think he's probably going to be in that 10% range. I'll be fine with that. Maybe he's a little higher. I don't know. But still, love some Charlie Hoffman this week. And then my fade is going to be, this is another guy like Finau that I'm now done with. I don't know. He's not like Finau because they're kind of like different players and they're from different countries. And actually, there's no similarities between this guy and Tony Finau.
Okay.
But I feel like his run is over of me like wanting to talk about him and pick him and play him and whatever else. And that is Matthew Fitzpatrick. Not going to take. I'm done. I'm done with Fitzy.
Why are you done with Fitzy?
I'm done with him.
Only players we mentioned last week that actually made the cut at the tournament.
I don't care. I don't care. His approach play has been horrendous lately. He's 116th in the field. He's accurate off the tee. A lot of things make sense with him, but his approach play has been terrible the last few weeks, and I think that's going to be important this week. I'm not playing Matthew. I'm done with Fitzy. Done with him.
Okay. Well, for the sake of giving the people talking about some different names, it is Saturday night. Things are going to change. But for the sake of talking about some different names, I'm going to mention some different names. But I do love your Casey play. I'm not going to quit him. I love your Kokrak play. I love those two the most. The Hoffman play, you're right. He is on record talking about how much he loves Torrey, how much he's wanted to be here. I do like that a little bit about Hoffman. He's checking a lot of boxes. I'm there. I think your Fitzy fade is ridiculous. But I'm going to give you three names that I like here. The first is Shane Lowry. I mean, what are we doing? Like, Shane Lowry's freaking killing it. 4th at the PGA, 6th at the Memorial. Has a great record on tough golf courses. He's checking every single box. All the stats that I mentioned, he's actually top 10 in bogey avoidance, strokes gained around the green, 13th in approach, 16th in good drives gained. Like, I mean, Lowry's crushing it. Irons are fantastic. Around the green game is one of the top in this entire field. Love Shane Lowry. Okay. The next one. Oh, I don't know if I should say that one next. All right. Yeah. I'm going to go 7,300. I'm going to go Max Homa. I wanted Max Homa a little bit at the PGA. I don't think I mentioned him, but I kind of wanted him. He missed the cut. Finished T6 at the Memorial. I really like that he did that. I really, really like that he did that. California guy, comfortable here at Torrey Pines. Iron play has actually still been pretty solid. Okay. The around the green play trending nicely. When you look at what he did at Memorial, that's been good for him. He putts really well on POA. I like that for Max Homa, and I think he's got win equity. I actually think he could win the US Open. I think he'd be a first-time major winner, like 7 of the last 10 have been, and win the US Open. He's got to win here at California in a tough field this year. I think he could make it happen. So I think Homa's definitely worth a shot. My next play.
Siwoo, shaking that ass, shaking that ass, shaking that ass.
Is our sweet South Korean prince, Siwoo Kim, baby. That's right. Siwoo Kim. It is Siwoo season. It's a major. You know, you got to play Siwoo Kim. You got to order a shirt. If he wins, I would imagine we'd have to reorder some more shirts if he wins. And I'm just gonna pray he wins. But it's a major. He's coming off a T9 at the Memorial, which I did not think he was going to do that well at the Memorial, but he did. I didn't think he was going to care. But he checks the boxes. Driving, he's got plenty of distance. He hits in the fairway, pretty decent. Good drives gained, checks the box there. Around the green, checks the box there. Iron play, trending very nicely. In fact, in the last 8 rounds, in the last 4 rounds, much better than if you look out a little bit longer term. So the irons are playing really well there. He's a great scrambler. And he's not terrible putting on Poana either. So Siwoo Kim for me. My fade is Sergio Garcia. Worst putting surface is POA by a long shot. And let me just tell you, can you imagine him putting worse? Yeah, he's terrible.
Yeah,
he's eyes closed. He's terrible. POA's worse. I feel like he's kind of in the Paul Tesori range on his opinions on POA based on his career. His form sucks. He sucks around the greens. His last 3 U.S. Opens, a miscut, a 52nd, and a miscut. He missed the cut at the Kiowa, and his major record in general just sucks since he won the Masters. So I'm out on Sergio Garcia. That's the 7K range. Man, I am. I'm getting worn out. Don't forget to comment on the YouTube video. Your favorite thing Paul Tesori said, and I can't remember what the other thing was. I told people to comment on. What was the other thing I told them? Favorite Paul Tesori thing and something else. Anyway, comment because it helps us out. Appreciate it. All right, let's get to the 6K range because I think Pat's internet is failing him. He keeps freezing like a mug on YouTube. So we got to hurry up. I got 4 names I'll throw out real quick in the 6K range. You ready? Pay attention. This is going to be fast. Oh, let me see the prices real quick. All right. The first one, $6,800. Burned Wiesberger. Feel the burn.
Burned.
He's made 3. God scared the hell out of me. That actually scared me. He's made 3 straight U.S. Open cuts. He just won like 2 weeks ago on the European Tour. And he's so 3 straight U.S. Open cuts. He's got a decent record in major championships. When you look at old Burned, no super great finishes, but a pretty good overall record in majors for a guy who plays primarily on the European Tour. And you think like, oh, he's just over there beating up on the Euro guys, but he comes over here in tough fields and he does well. So never missed a cut in the U.S. Open. He's never missed a cut in the Masters. I'm sorry, he's made 3 straight U.S. Open cuts. See that he's never missed a cut at the Masters. and just won on the European Tour. He's $6,800. Like, I mean, I think that's strong to quite strong. I got two guys in the $6,700 range. The first one is Wyndham Clark, the long hitting, sweet putting, stroking PXG motherfucking Wyndham Clark. He's a West Coast boy, putts best on POA. That's his best putting surface by far. Short game is solid, hits it a freaking mile. 9th around the green last 24 rounds, and 28th in bogey avoidance. I'm kind of sitting here looking at Wyndham Clark wondering, like, why hasn't he played better? He hits it a mile. Around the green, he's top 10 in the field, in this field, which is tough to do. He's 28th in bogey avoidance. His irons are just that bad. But if he can just figure out his irons on Torrey Pines, like, he's a killer. He's a killer. The next one at 6,700 is Bo Hoag, just coming off a T13 at the Memorial. Top 20 in bogey avoidance and good drives gained over the last 24 rounds, according to Fantasy National, and trending in the right direction in terms of stroke gain approach and strokes gain around the green when you look over the last 8 rounds, 4 rounds compared to longer term stuff. And POA is his best putting surface. So Bo Hoag at 6,700 is someone that I'm kind of looking at. And the final pick for me at $6,500, you know it's hard for me to avoid a little Brendan Steele. I love some Brendan Steele. T37 at Memorial. Okay. POA is his best.
Is obviously confident right now. You look at the stats for him. I mean, none of these guys are going to be checking a ton of boxes across the board, but really, I mean, there's nothing really. I mean, he's in the top really 50 in the field in approach, driving accuracy. You look at bogey avoidance, you look at scrambling, all of those things KH Lee's doing well on. Doesn't putt great on Poana greens, whatever. I mean, nobody really seems to be that consistent on Poana greens anyway. Also, it's 6,800. Now, I really just want to play this guy because I like his name. Guido Migliozzi. Guido Migliozzi. He's finished second place in his last 2 events on the European Tour at the British Masters and then something called the Made in Himmerland, which is awesome. He was second place there. So obviously he's in good form coming into the tournament this week. And anyway, so whatever there. I'm going to give you two Corn Ferry guys playing in this event.
Oh, wow.
They're playing well. Grayson Sigg is at 6,600. Now, he's a local boy. We got a little bit of soft spot for him. He's from Augusta, but he is top 5 this season. He's won once. He's also had some, great finishes. He's top 5 in greens and regulation, top 10 in ball striking. Has some tour experience. He's played in, tournaments like the RSM and things like that. So anyway, I like Sigg. And then Taylor Pendrith is another guy who I think is a solid player. Look, very long off the tees, top 5 in the field, or top 5 in driving distance on the Corn Ferry Tour. He's top 25 also, though, in greens and regulation and ball striking. So I think Taylor Pendrith is somebody that could kind of sneak up, cheap guy, Corn Ferry guy, been grinding it out all season long there. So there you go. A few Corn Ferry guys that are in this field that could have some good weeks.
Love it. Good stuff, Pat. Listen, we got to get to the betting show because I got some names that I haven't quite mentioned. We've got a new format to the betting show. We got a new segment at the end of the betting show. If you're missing the betting show, you're missing out. So we're going to go do that. We're going to record that live. I've got some work to do on my Casamigos bottle. It's going to be a great night. I'm looking forward to it. Let's do it, man. May everybody's screens be green for the 2021 US Open from Torrey Pines.